is not the time to determine what you lost.
Document those items as personal belongings because you will be required to create an inventory of everything you had in that house.
At Share Vision Productions, we want to help you preserve your home and the valuables that you own by doing a video at a very reasonable price. The video is totally confidential and you can store it in the cloud or in a safety deposit box. Act now and call us to make an appointment at 925-609-4728.
Fire occurs every 86 seconds in an American home. If they were responding to your home, one of the first questions you will be asked after the fire, what property have you lost?
So by going through your home and taking a video of all your contents, and most importantly make sure that you do get all the serial numbers off of any type of electronics or anything that holds a serial number.
The insurance adjuster will require you to prove your loss and the replacement cost within a short time.
Usually when a claim occurs, you will have somebody out within 24 hours.
This will be a very traumatic event in your life. It will be weeks, not days, for you to recall all that you own.
And the biggest thing that you can do is to actually take a video or a complete inventory of everything you have in your house. And I say video because that's the easiest way to go. It can be date stamped.
Walk through every room in your home, including the closets and the garage. And what about that attic?
If your house burns to the ground, you're going to be under tremendous stress. And especially those specialty items like that silver that your grandmother left you, or maybe artwork that you may not think about that often, or if you have a special musical instrument.
Sifting through the ashes is not the time to determine what you lost.
Document those items as personal belongings because you will be required to create an inventory of everything you had in that house.
At Share Vision Productions, we want to help you preserve your home and the valuables that you own by doing a video at a very reasonable price. The video is totally confidential and you can store it in the cloud or in a safety deposit box. Act now and call us to make an appointment at 925-609-4728.
Three. A live podcast sponsored by the Marin Fire History Group. All about the history of the fire service in Marin County, California. And now your host, retired Fire Chief Bill Lellis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Marin County Fire Chief's historical website. Today we will be discussing one of the most unique chapters in the history of Marin County Fire Service. The fire chief who was convicted of murder. In the annals of our history, the name forgotten was a man named Norman Selby. And this is his story. Born in 1872 and died in 1940, at the age of 13, he left home and rode the rails of the American Railroad. He was married 9 times and 3 times to the same woman. He was known in the sporting industry as Mr. Jekyll and Hyde. We will be discussing the prison of San Quentin, one of the most notorious institutions in America, and how Mr. Selby came to live here and to become a fire chief. In 1848, on a small stream at Sutter's Mill, a gentleman by the name of James Marshall looked down into the waters and saw a shiny stone. When he retrieved it, it was gold. And the rush was on. They would come from around the world in search of gold. They would abandon their ships in the San Francisco harbor for the gold fields. In this illustration is of a ledger kept by one of the seekers of the high fortune. And when he got off the boat, there was a miner sitting on the dock and offered him $380 for the shoes he was wearing. That's how difficult the average commodity for living was in San Francisco. Ships were turned into brothels and turned into hotels and bars. The word on the street was you could come to California and gold was lying on the streets just to be picked up. And as is quite evident, it wasn't quite that easy. Lots of people spent their fortune and their lives in the search for this gold. But with gold comes people who want to take it from you. You could be attacked at a bar. A gentleman by the name of Black Bart may take it from you, or you could be run over by a gang, all in search of taking your gold that you work for, that they did in San Francisco. The population in 1848 was 800 people. A year later, the population in San Francisco was 15,000 people. The jails could not hold the runaway wild criminal scene that was on the streets of San Francisco and in the gold fields. They had to purchase boats as prisons. And even then, they would jump off board and swim to the city. So they moved to boat to Point San Quentin, where they couldn't swim to any civilized area in the county. In those days, in the turn of the century, 1900, boxing was and baseball were the two major sports in America. And since there was no radios, all your news and sports figures would be on the front page of the morning news. And boxing was, without a doubt, one of the most popular sports at the turn of the century. A gentleman by the name of Norman Selby, who took the name in the ring as Kid McCoy. He had his first fight in 1891, and 6 years later, he would be the welterweight champion of the world. As you can see in the headlines, this was from the headlines of the Herald. The purse in 1900 was $6,000. That equates to a little over $100,000 in today's marketplace. But he was become famous and be one of the most recognizable figures in the sports history. He was, to give a relationship to how popular he was as popular in those days as Muhammad Ali was in our days. People loved him and couldn't get enough of him. Keep in mind now, at one time, Muhammad Ali's image was the most recognizable image on the planet. And so it was in 1900 that Kid McCoy was one of the most recognizable figures on the planet. Baseball cards was a great way to advertise, and cigarettes. Cigarettes would take advantage of an image and people would collect them. The most famous of these cards is a gentleman by the name whose card sold for $1.2 million. He did not want his name and image on cigarettes since he did not agree with the cigarettes. So they was destroyed and left known 5 cards were left to be known to be in circulation. And the last one discovered was sold for $1.2 million. Now, aren't you glad you didn't save all your cards as a kid? But there's Kid McCoy on the left being displayed on a cigarette package. After his boxing career, the kid migrated to sunny California, where he would be in 19 films, mostly as a heavy, but he was also a trainer of the Hollywood stars for movie parts. Here he's training Charlie Chaplin to be a boxer in Charlie's up-and-coming movie. So he would circulate, and the people of Hollywood fell in love with this image of this boxer. But the rich life of California and the Hollywood connection, he would run astray. And one night in a drunken rage, he would strangle and shoot his mistress and claimed that she committed suicide. He later would admit to the police that he had done the act of taking her life. This is the picture of his police photo on the day he was arrested and the day he went to San Quentin prison. He was sentenced to San Quentin prison for 25 years with robbery, kidnapping, and murder. Once in San Quentin, the jobs was very limited, but they were jobs. You could work the quarry that was on the prison site, and you could make little rocks out of big rocks, or make blocks of material for building the rest of the prison. The jute mill, where you made burlap bags for the agricultural industry in California. So the kid, McCoy, took a job in the jute mill. And one of the requirements when you worked the jute mill is you had to produce 300 feet of burlap a day. And once you had completed 300 feet of burlap a day, your workday was done. So it was a very noisy, dusty, and dangerous place. And anyone on the prison would do anything to get out of these jobs. So when the offer came to work the chain gangs of the highways of California, people would jump at it. And the kid was offered a job on the chain gang in San Simeon by Hearst Castle. Anything to get out of the mill. And at this moment in time, his life would change as it relates to the prison. Near the chain gang, a plane crashed. And without hesitating, the kid ran over and pulled the pilot out, saving his life before the plane broke into flames. And for this heroic deed, when he returned to the prison, he was offered the job as basically he was the person who would guide you through the prison if you were visiting. And he was also the guide who would take new prisoners to the prison and show them how the prison system worked. It was a great job, but he still had to return to his cell at the end of each day. What happened next was he became the fire inspector for the prison. He still had to return to his cell at night, but he had full run of the prison. He could be outside the main walls and checking on fire extinguishers. They had 40 fire extinguishers. They had a salt water system that provided showers for the inmates and for the fire protection systems. But he still had to return to his cell, and he had to turn to the main chow line to get his food. In 1925, he became the fire chief for the prison. He would take over a brand new firehouse, a state-of-the-art building with the most modern equipment for a state facility. He was quite a novelty for who he was and what he was about to do. And as the newspaper article says, in big gold letters on his helmet, it says San Quentin Fire Chief. He had the most modern equipment. And here's an article from a newspaper to advertise how novel the kid was to the local politicians. He was kind of a novelty. They were going to have a monthly meeting at the California Park Fire Department, and the warden was going to be the speaker, and the subject of the meeting with all the mayors and fire chiefs was the new fire chief at the prison, Kid McCoy. So as I said earlier, he was truly a novelty on it. But here we have a Rio chemical engine. And Rio was one of the major manufacturers of fire trucks in those days. And the Rio, and the O stands for the last name of the gentleman calls Olds, which you might relate to the term Oldsmobile. He left building fire trucks to make cars, but he did build wonderful fire trucks at the time. The kid would be in charge of new equipment. Here we have a brand new American LaFrance being tested on the dock of the San Quentin ferry slip at the foot of the San Rafael Bridge. So he did have a modern equipment to work with. He was challenged. Not only did he have fires on the prison grounds, such as wild grass fires and miscellaneous dumpster fires, but he also had a major structure fire just outside the main gate, the east gate. It was called the Red Mill Inn, and It was full of boats and full of 55-gallon drums of oil and gasoline for the boats, and that were exploding and spreading over the air. But the kids, along with the San Rafael Fire Department, contained the fire. No one was injured. The building was a total loss. And the sad part about it is this historical building was built from lumber taken from the Larkspur Baltimore Canyon back in the 1840s and 50s. But he did experience major suppression operations and did a wonderful job. A strange twist in the fate of his walking people through the prison. The gentleman you see in this image is the district attorney who convicted the kid of murder. He was convicted of criminal conspiracy as the district attorney of Los Angeles and was sentenced to San Quentin prison, where the kid got to escort him through the rigors of what prison life was going to be. The kid was so popular, even then, people from Hollywood, like Al Jolson, Sophie Tucker, Lionel Barrymore, and people like him of the time would come all the way up to San Francisco, take the ferry boat to the prison and visit him. On a daily basis, he would receive letters and free gifts of foods that he would share with the rest of the inmates. He never lost his popularity with the outside world, even for what the bad deed he had done. He was so popular in his time that General MacArthur, people like General MacArthur, Henry Ford, and the Vice President of the United States, Curtis, petitioned the warden to parole the kid. He was denied parole on his first hearings. And the reason he was denied parole, he did not have a job to go to. And when Henry Ford in Michigan heard this, he called the warden and offered a job to the kid immediately on being released from prison. And with that said, he was awarded parole after 6 years in prison. When he moved back to Michigan, as it states, fame once more touched the kid. He witnessed a boat overturn on Lake Michigan with 7 family members aboard. The kid rushed into the water like he had years ago on the grounds of San Simeon and rescued 5 children. The parents did not survive. The state wanted to bestow on him a Medal of Bravery, but he refused this honor. The kid once told a fellow inmate, "Remember, the bright lights go out the quickest." Kid McCoy knows. This is a photo of him near the end of his life, taken in Michigan. To all my friends, sorry, I could not endure this world's madness. He went out as he had come in, signing his suicide note, Norman Selby. He could not withstand not being a star. Even in death, the kid was very popular. Thousands of people attended his funeral. In 1991, the Boxing Hall of Fame put him into and claimed that he was one of the best lightweight champions of all time. For a few moments in our time, he was one of us. And that's what I consider one of the strangest stories of Marin County Fire Service's history, when a world champion boxer and Hall of Fame who was sentenced for murder became a fire chief for a moment in our county. Thanks for listening and watching. Take care.
But wait.
Bye. but late.
But wait.
But wait, I hear.
Yes, but it could be either, and I have to walk over here to talk to you today. It could be either late or wait. It depends.
Oh,
Oh, smart one.
oh, yes.
We have a question to ask the chief. Ah, yes, Mindy
Mindy.
from Parts Unknown
Unknown.
sent in and I appreciate the little echo there. Mindy from Parts Unknown sent in a question regarding the hose cart races in Larkspur.
Oh,
And I have, sorry, no idea what a hose cart race is. Can you enlighten us, please? Oh, great one.
oh, yes. One of the first manual extinguishing equipment that the fire department heard that wasn't buckets was the hose cart. The hose cart could carry up to probably 500 feet of 2.5-inch hose with fittings. And so the wheels were like 5 foot high, but 500 feet's a lot. So one of the most anticipated events at annual parades and annual Booster Day parades and events was hose cart races amongst the different fire departments throughout Marin and Sonoma County. Mill Valley was probably one of the best, if not the best at the time. But in 1909, in the first Booster Days held in Larkspur, they would run 100 yards. A team of hose people firemen would pull a hose cart 100 yards, would grab a hydrant, extend the hose to the finish line, apply a nozzle, open the hydrant and flow water. And the first one who did it would win. In 1909, Larkspur won that contest in 29 seconds. Now you think about that, 100 yards, 300 feet, two guys, anything goes wrong, a fitting comes off the wrong way, you're out of the event. And Mill Valley would win it in 27, 25 seconds. San Rafael, they would win their share of the trophies. But it's also, keep in mind, it was a great way to train, motivate the firefighters to come in and train after they worked all day, is to come in on a Saturday morning and do some trainings. But hose cart races were the most anticipated event of all the musters and Booster Days celebrations throughout Marin County. And that's the story.
That
of
was
hose cart
fascinating.
Racing.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I'm a
And
fascinating person.
you are,
Yes,
you are,
yeah.
yes. And if we ever forget that,
Yeah.
you'll point it out for us, won't you?
Yes,
One last thing.
Yes.
If we may. As this airs, it is June the 28th, and we have a celebratory weekend coming up.
yes.
What fire safety tips do you have for the 4th of July? Oh, great one.
Don't come out of your house.
There you go.
No, as you know, in Marin County, one of the first counties in the state of California to ban all fireworks, including safe and sane. That's been on the books for probably 30 or 40 years now. But Marin County was the first in the state to do that, ban all fireworks, and they are still. But the problem is there are still areas outside the county that are big money winners for nonprofit organizations selling safe and sane fireworks. And people can go out of the county, buy them, bring them back in and use them. So every 4th of July, many children are maimed, lose hands and fingers playing with illegal fireworks.
So that's it?
That's pretty much it. Just a sidelight to fireworks, since we're
Please.
talking about it. Since fireworks, the state of California collects and through all the fire departments who confiscate illegal fireworks, I'm talking about firecrackers and the like. They have tons and tons and tons. At the end of July, they will have tons and tons of illegal fireworks. But in California, they cannot dispose of them because they're considered hazardous waste. You can't burn them because then the dirt becomes hazardous waste, and it's a great cleanup process. So, all about
For Clint.
yeah, on box 411. If you allow me to go to the street address.
You're going to get into the historical documents there.
Yes, I am. Where am I?
They're on page 1.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize for this, but and
It was, I can tell you the street.
yeah, go ahead.
Nokomis.
Nokomis.
In
Okay,
San
near
Antonio.
a bridge.
Yes.
Not on a bridge but near a bridge. So I'm assuming Nokomis went through and over the bridge to another street. That's where box, I believe it was 411 was located for Clinton.
Nokomis connected from Sayus Avenue, I think came down, made a turn, and then hit San Antonio Avenue,
Okay.
I think.
What you think?
Thank you all, great
Yeah,
one.
we are trying. Okay, thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and have a safe Fourth.
And keep them
Small.
That's the way to do it. Thank you, Chief. A fire occurs every 86 seconds in an American home. If they were responding to your home, one of the first questions you will be asked after the fire, what property have you lost?
So by going through your home and taking a video of all your contents, and most importantly, make sure that you do get all the serial numbers off of any type of electronics or anything that holds a serial number.
The insurance adjuster will require you to prove your loss and the replacement cost within a short time.
Usually when a claim occurs, you will have somebody out within 24 hours.
This will be a very traumatic event in your life. It will be weeks, not days, for you to recall all that you own.
And the biggest thing that you can do is to actually take a video or a complete inventory of everything you have in your house. And I say video because that's the easiest way to go. It can be date stamped.
Walk through every room in your home, including the closets and the garage. And what about that attic?
If your house burns to the ground, you're going to be under tremendous stress. And especially those specialty items like that silver that your grandmother left to you, or maybe artwork that you may not think about that often, or if you have a special musical instrument.
Sifting through the ashes is not the time to determine what you lost.
Document those items as personal belongings because you will be required to create an inventory of everything you had in that house.
At Share Vision Productions, we want to help you preserve your home and the valuables that you own by doing a video at a very reasonable price. The video is totally confidential and you can store it in the cloud or in a safety deposit box. Act now and call us to make an appointment at 925-609-4728.